Welcome to the File-AID MVS Online Browse and Edit Additional Commands module. Here you will learn about some of the commands available in the File-AID editor that are used less frequently than others, but are powerful nonetheless. The learner is assumed to have completed the File-AID Editor Basics module or have equivalent experience. We will cover the primary and line commands listed here, and examples of each will be shown. Here we see the columns line command, which embeds the display of a columns ruler on any line of the display. More than one may be used. In this example, we see how the FMT line command can be used to display a given record in formatted mode. Similarly, the VFMT line command may be used to display the current records in vertically formatted mode. Data shifting is controlled by line commands. Parentheses, also known as parens or round brackets, are entered in the line command area. Shift commands are shown here for left and right. Block commands are valid as well. Let's look at an example. A batch job has been run, and the sysout from JES has been saved to the file shown. There is embedded JCL, but it is not quite usable as is. Here, the JES messages and unwanted JCL have been deleted. The remaining JCL is good, but we see from the columns ruler that it begins in column 11 rather than column 1. The easy fix is shown. The block commands for shifting data 10 columns to the left have been entered on the first and last lines. Here we see the resulting valid JCL. Next, we will look at working with bounds. We have just seen the data shifting example. The Basics module looks at the find, change, and exclude commands. All of these commands apply to entire records, but the find, change, and exclude commands also allow column delimiters. For example, this command limits changes to columns 6 through 20. The bounds option controls processing. It applies to the find, change, and exclude commands and applies to data shifting as well. There is a bounds primary command and a BNDS line command. Unless changed, the default is the entire record. Let's look at some examples. We begin in the File-AID editor in character mode and enter the BNDS line command. The bounds line is displayed. The less than symbol in column 1 signifies the location of the left boundary. Scrolling all the way over to the right reveals the greater than symbol in column 198, the right boundary. As mentioned earlier, the default boundaries are at the beginning and end of a record. Here we enter the primary command to set the boundaries at columns 6 and 20. The changed boundaries delimiters appear on the display. Note that the boundaries also may be set and/or reset by simply entering the delimiters at the desired locations from the keyboard. To see the effects of the boundary setting, we enter a command to change all occurrences of the letter A to the letter O. Here we see the resulting changes all within the boundaries. Occurrences of the letter A outside the boundaries clearly remain unchanged. When multiple changes are required, the commands are simplified when the column ranges need not be specified. Also, setting boundaries will allow longer change from and to strings in the command area. Here we will look at how the shift command is affected by boundaries. we shift the block of data 5 columns to the left. Here we see the expected shifting. The vacated area seems to contain blanks or spaces. Let's check to be sure by turning on hex. We see that this field did contain trailing blanks, but the 5 bytes resulting from the shift command contain low values or binary zeros. If that is unacceptable, there is a remedy. The pad command may be used to control the trailing characters resulting from shifting data. Here the pad is set to hexadecimal C1, which is the letter uppercase A. In fact, the command could have been entered as pad A. We enter a block command to shift 2 additional columns to the left. After the shift, we see some of the original trailing blanks, followed by the 5 bytes of low values from the first shift, followed by 2 occurrences of the letter A from the second shift. We next turn our attention to data masking. Inserted lines normally contain no data. Data masking provides a template to pre-fill inserted lines with data for convenience. The mask line command is used. Let's look at an example. We begin by editing a file containing COBOL source code. Next, we enter the mask line command. The mask line appears awaiting our input. The premise here is we will be adding lines of code to this record layout or copybook, and we want to put the same picture clause on each line. We put that picture on the mask line. We insert 5 lines, and we see that each contains the mask value. Next, we will look at working with overlay. The overlay allows copying subsets of records to other records. When using overlay, the source may be 1 or more records, and the target also may be 1 or more records. Overlay is used with the copy command. There is an overlay primary command and an OVLY line command. Let's look at some examples. Here we enter the overlay primary command, which establishes that we want the overlay to occur in columns 34 through 63. Next, we enter the OVLY line command, which displays the overlay line. The asterisks show the overlay field. The intent is to copy the job title actor in line 4 and overlay that title on all corresponding fields in lines 7 through 15. To accomplish this, we enter the copy command on line 4 and the block overlay commands on lines 7 and 15. Here we see the results. Note that the behavior of the File-AID overlay command is not the same as the ISPF overlay command. If we specify another overlay primary command, we see that the new range is added to the original range. If in fact that is what we wanted, we could have entered the command shown here. To use only the new range, specify the clear operand, which may appear either before or after the column range. Here we see that only the new column range is in effect. In this final overlay example, we have just opened the file in the editor and no overlay ranges have been set. We specify the copy command on line 4 and the block overlay commands on lines 7 and 11. We are informed by the message of the lack of an overlay range. By entering the extended profile command, profile 8, We see that the current status of the pad, mask, bounds, and overlay options are included. Now we will look at working with labels. These are user-defined markers that allow convenient return to one or more given records by using the locate command. Labels are placed in the line command area by entering a period followed by a string of characters to appropriately tag the record. Let's look at an example. First, we enter two labels, .jack and .smith. When we press enter, the labels are highlighted and will replace the line numbers until removed or until the edit session ends. Here we enter the locate command with the label Smith, but no period prefix. The parameter is invalid. We retry, this time with the period prefix. This time we are successful. The specified line is located and placed at the top of the display. Here we enter the repeat line command, and the new line is tagged as such. We see how we can locate the first new line, which is placed at the top of the display. This concludes this module. Thank you.